Hello everybody, this is the Victor, and in less than 48 hours, 2021 is no more. Thanks for coming, now fuck off. Because 2021 was not exactly a stellar movie year. Sure, it was better than 2020, but it's like saying that eating a moldy sock was more pleasant than eating human feces with nails inside. And if you got that reference, bravo, you know your Italian 1970s movies, I guess. But one of the highlights of the year, it is the ability to look ahead and see what's on the horizon. Will 2022 be a better year for movies than 2021? Survey says, I don't know. There are a couple of movies that are overhauls from 2021 that made it into this list also. One of them was very, very annoying, and you'll know why when I'm talking about it, because it is going to be the fourth time I think I'm going to mention it. Jesus freaking H Christ. So, without any further ado, let's go on and predict what is going to be the 15 best movies of 2022. For this one is basically the movie has to be scheduled to come out 2022. Nothing else matters. Here we go. Number 15, Havoc. I love Tom Hardy, and I think that this, detective story about, a detective uncovering conspiracies and stuff like that in a hard-hitting action movie. And number 15, Nightmare Alley. Hi, this is me the day after you shooting this video, because I realized when I went and saw Matrix Resurrections, not a very good movie by the way, that Guillermo del Toro has made a new movie called Nightmare Alley. Nightmare Alley is starring such people as Willem Dafoe, Bradley Cooper and Cate Blanchett. Written and directed by him, it's some kind of a, film noir-ish con movie or something like that. It seems like that is so my thing. So my alternatives was A, do the whole thing all over again and scramble around a little bit, or remove Havoc and simply have that as number 15. So that was what I did. If I could have redone the list, I probably would have put Nightmare Alley even higher, because it's one of my favorite directors and it is one of my favorite things to do in movies. So we shall see where Nightmare Alley goes, shall we? Now back again to yesterday. Number 14, The Gray Man. The Russos, aka, the guys who did your favorite Marvel movies, are back with a espionage thriller starring Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling. I think that on paper this sounds really, really fascinating and really interesting, and it could make for a very, very tense and cool, spy movies, because I love spy movies. The problem is that they might want to fill it up with too much, other stuff, because I read somewhere that there are, one of the poisonous words in the dictionary of great movies, an estranged child. If somebody has to reconnect with a strange child, it better fucking not be Ryan Gosling, because Ryan's same face is terrible, if he's going to be, an emotionally challenged character, because he has, one face and one expression. Now, if you cast him in the correct movie, let's say, Drive or Blade Runner 2049, you have made the right choice. But if it's going to be in some kind of a romantic, thing or something like that, it very, very rarely works, because Ryan's same face can only be used for a certain small number of things. But this has the potential of being a really, really cool movie. We shall see. Number 13, Bullet Train. This is an action movie about a bunch of assassins on a bullet train in Japan. At this point, since I don't know that much about the whole thing, this movie can, go either way. It can either be a spectacular super action movie, or it can be a really mundane, so-and-so movie. But movies that take place on trains usually have a lot more adrenaline to it. It has more tension to it, and it has more movement to it. So it can help a movie, by moving it further along by just, being on a train. Look at Under Siege 2, Dark Territories. The movie is a standard Steven Seagal movie, but with the help of that they are on a train, all the emotion, all the tension is built up, and the pace is improved by it. Let's hope for a good one from Brad Pitt. Number 12, Knives Out 2. I thought Knives Out was a very, very funny movie. I thought Knives Out was an excellent movie, except for the fact that I thought that Daniel Craig was a bit miscast in this one, because his very weird accent and his weird demeanor didn't fit Daniel Craig. I always thought this one would have been so much better with Matthew McConaughey as Benoit Blanc, but I am absolutely not against having another movie with him solving another crime, and I'm especially fond of the fact that this takes place in a totally different area with a totally different set of characters. And I hope that this will be one of these things I really, really love, a great murder mystery. I thought that the first one was an almost perfect movie with a couple of small little problems here and there that made me go, I didn't like that one that particular much. But I think that, the battle of the murder mysteries will definitely be won by this one, because I think Death on the Nile will be about as good as Murder on the Orient Express, which will be a really, really, really fine, good movie, but not something you will, remember for a while. Number 11, Decision to Leave. Park Cha-won is a South Korean filmmaker that is responsible for The Handmaiden and Old Boy, two of my favorite South Korean movies of all time. I love them, and I am a very big fan of his work. It has been a bit quiet from him for a while, but he's apparently working on a movie that is called Decided to Leave. And apparently it is some kind of a romantic thriller about serial killers or something like that. And that sounds really interesting. If it would have been done by, Joe Schmo or something like that, I would have said, I'm skipping this one. But considering who is sitting in that director's chair, it made this movie 100 times more interesting. Let's just hope that it will come out next year, because, it might be delayed because this is apparently still sort of in development, but as I've heard, it is still gonna come out 2022. We'll hope for the best. Number 10, The Batman. People might think that this movie is a little bit low on the list, and I can understand that, but hear me out. I think that when they have just pushed Batman further and further and further into, the dark and brooding stuff, they've also lost something, the entertaining bits. Zack Snyder, had a very good casting of Batman. I think that Ben Affleck was a very good Batman and Bruce Wayne. Unfortunately, the stories were just so boring, and I fucking hated the small pointy things they had, for the bat ears. I think this is going to be the best Batman movie that has been made since 2012. Well, it better fucking be. But the thing is that this movie will apparently dive further into the fact that, Batman is the world's greatest detective. It is more of a detective story, apparently, and it is less about, super villains are trying to, take over the world or some stupid thing like that. And that is a new and interesting direction. Do I think that Robert Pattinson was the best choice for playing Batman? No, I don't. But he's not totally untalented. The Lighthouse is pretty good in that one. And in the Cosmopolis, he was pretty okay in that one too. So it is a struggle, and it is an uphill battle, but they might win it. And the fact is that I hope that this movie is a more psychological Batman movie rather than, the Snyder things or the Nolan things. I want this movie to be its own thing. I would most likely not to have it, be connected to some other universe things, because I am sick of it at this point. But do I think that this movie is going to be excellent? The jury's out on that one, but I'm curious. I'm really curious. We shall see. Number 9, The Wild Bunch. Do I think that it is a good idea to remake The Wild Bunch? Sam Peckinpah's best movie and one of my favorite Western movies of all time? Short answer, no. But a pretty interesting cast list considering of Jamie Foxx, Peter Dinklage and Mel Gibson might create something spectacular and interesting. Now, I normally think that if you're going to do a remake of something, you should make it with a movie that, you know, was ill-received when it came, or was, you know, ahead of its time, but, you know, was made for a, you know, too small budget, or was made somewhere where people, you know, didn't see it. Why couldn't you, David Ayer, who has written this movie, you know, have made a new version of Roger Corman's The Gunslinger? The story is pretty okay. I mean, the movie is horrible, but the story is kind of cool. Why don't you do that instead of one of the most famous Western movies of all time? Now, I am saying that I'm looking forward to this movie. Do I think that it's going to be as good as the original? No, I don't. But I'm curious. Now, this movie at this point does not have a director. It only has David Ayer as its writer, a bunch of pretty famous Hollywood celebrities in the cast, and nothing else. If this movie is rated PG-13, I will fucking not see this movie. Until maybe 2023 or something like that. But until then, I'm morbidly curious what they can do. Morbidly curious. Number 8, Crimes of the Future. David Cronenberg is back. David Cronenberg, who hasn't made a movie for quite a number of years now, one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, has decided to come out of semi-retirement to do what else? A remake of a movie that he has already made. Crimes of the Future, which I haven't seen, which is one of very few Cronenberg movies, that I haven't seen, was made in, you know, the 70s. If you're going to remake something, why don't you remake something that people basically have never seen? I've never even heard of, you know, his first movies. I thought that The Brood was, you know, if not his first movie, then one of his first movies. What's the movie about? I don't know. It's going to be apparently quite different from the original, which I am not against. I just hope that we're going to get body horror, we're going to have disturbing stuff, and we're going to have somebody doing some overacting nonsense, and it is going to be one of these movies that could low-key be one of my favorite movies of the year. We shall see. Let's just hope that the movie actually comes out. Number 7, Ambulance. Michael Bay is back. Praise our action lord. Since he split from the Transformers movies, which has hurt his career massively, in my opinion. Not his bank account necessarily, but God, I have missed old classic Michael Bay when he, you know, doing these stupid, over-the-top nonsense action movies that does not involve big robots. I thought that 6 Underground was fucking amazing, and I hope for more, you know, high-octane action from this one. I love the fact that this is apparently going to take place on an ambulance, and I guess that we're going to be chased a lot by, you know, the baddies, and we're going to have cars flipping through the air, we're going to have explosions, and we're going to have one-liners, and hopefully it's going to be rated R, and hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully it's going to be a shorter movie. I think this kind of intense, you know, action movie that only takes place in one location should be a very quick one. Because if you're looking at a movie like Vehicle 19 that came out, what, 8-9 years ago with Paul Walker, it was a fascinating idea because it takes place in, you know, inside his rental car through the entire movie, and it is fascinating, but it's also limitations on you as a filmmaker. You better make a very, very short movie. I think this movie should be under 100 minutes for it to really work. Otherwise, you might overstay your welcome. Number 6, The Northmen. Robert Eggers did The Lighthouse a couple of years ago. The movie was praised for a number of things, including getting Robert Pattinson an almost passable role and making it, of course, in 4:3 format and black and white, which I was really annoyed by because I thought the movie could have been a lot better if it would have been shot in widescreen and if it would have been shot in color. That's just me, and if you disagree with that, you have the right to be wrong. He's apparently doing a very, very brutal, very violent, 140-minute Viking revenge movie. I think this one has the opportunity to be the new movie like Korpenflyger or something like that. A really gritty, hard-hitting, vile, bloody and incredibly unpleasant movie to watch. And I have not seen any, imagery except the fact that I haven't seen the trailer that dropped 10 days or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. I only know that apparently Gustav Skarsgård got himself into some pretty damn ridiculous shape and showing off his bare chest with the abs and stuff like that. And in the spirit of equality between the sexes, I expect Anna Taylor-Joy to do the same thing. I want boobs. The risk is, of course, that this is turning into some kind of an art house Viking movie and we don't get that sweet blood and guts, but hopefully we do. I love myself some revenge thrillers, you guys, and especially if it is set in a Viking environment. I am very stoked for this one. And also, Willem Dafoe is in this one. Please, Willem Dafoe, give us another one of your over-the-top performances. Please, I crave them. I crave them so. Number 5, The Kingsman. Fuck you, Kingsman. I had you on my list. I did 2018 for 2019. Then you were moved to 2020. Then the fucking virus came. And then you were bumped to 1st August 2021. Then you were bumped to November 2021. Then you were bumped to the 21st of December, I think it was, 2021 here in Sweden. But a couple of days before December 2021, I was informed that this movie is now going to premiere in Sweden the 5th of January 2022. So this movie has officially been on 4 predictions videos for 4 different years. I have said everything I needed to say about this fucking movie. Give me a sequel to The Kingsman and give me this one so I can have my fill of I can have my fill of ridiculous nonsense. Otherwise, if this movie doesn't come out 2022, I will be very sarcastic about it in a video. Number 4, Avatar 2. I thought that Avatar, when I saw it, I haven't rewatched it in 6 or 7 years, but when I saw it, it was one of the most fantastic movie experiences I've ever seen. And I haven't rewatched it that many times, which might suggest that the movie isn't quite as good as I remembered it to be. But it was a fantastic world to immerse yourself in. And if there is anybody who can pull off a good sequel, it's James Cameron. Do I think it's going to be as good as the first one? I don't know. I'm gonna have to rewatch the original Avatar to see if it holds up as much as I hope it will. Otherwise, it's going to be interesting to see where we're going with this one in Pandora. I know it's gonna be, taking place in this kind of a water world, which probably will suggest that a bunch of the crew members will have vowed never to work with James Cameron again. But I would have liked James Cameron to do something else. I would have liked if Cameron could have, made a new movie, a kind of a new Avatar, a science fiction movie that is set place somewhere else, where we have new characters, not this retread of a movie that, he had been trying to make for several years, and then he finally did it, and then, we had to wait 13 years for a sequel that we'd never really asked for in the first place. We thought that the first movie was good, but is it going to be as good as the first one? We shall see. It is. The reason why this one is so high on this list is the fact that I have such fond memories of the first one. I can't really put it any lower. But to tell you the truth, I'm not super hyped for it, but we'll see where it lands. Number 3, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I loved Doctor Strange. It is one of my favorite Marvel movies ever. I love Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. I thought that the character was very, very good. And I don't know that much about, the multiverse thing, and I'm not a huge comic book nerd. I just like to watch comic book movies. And I think that this one is going to be the second best comic book movie that is going to be released in 2022. You'll have to figure out which my first pick is for that one. It might show up later. Anyway, I hope this movie is going to be as good, if not better, than the first one. And I also hope that this movie is going to be featuring a better villain than Mads Mikkelsen's kind of boring villain from the first one. It was so unnecessary that nobody remembers him everybody always remembers, the only thing people remembers is Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Hopefully, we will be taken to another roller coaster of emotion through the multiverse and see what happens. I'm very curious for this one. Number 2, Mission Impossible 7. Mission Impossible 7 should have come out this year, but wasn't. I love the Mission Impossible franchise. I think they are so fun. I think it is so entertaining to see. Is Tom Cruise going to be able to kill himself via movie making this time? Chances are no. But I'm really interested to see where Ethan Hunt is going next time. It's always the same thing. It's always so much fun. Car chases, exotic locations, good villains, a bunch of twists, and of course, dun 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 dee 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 la da. And number 1, Thor: Love and Thunder. One of my favorite current filmmakers is Taika Waititi, the Wilder People, Jojo Rabbit, and especially Thor Ragnarök. I love that movie so much. It was so fun, it was so quirky, it was so entertaining. Do I hope that he can do the same thing again? Yes, I do. Do I think it will be as good as Thor Ragnarök? Debatable. Let's just hope that he brings back everybody's favorites, and I hope that we have a bunch of more cool moments with Jeff Goldblum and, you know, the rock monsters and all that stuff. I just want to have a fun and quirky, you know, space adventure or something like that. Please give that to me again, Taika Waititi. I don't know much about it. I know that they're gonna try to make Jane some kind of a hero with, you know, the silly hats and Mjolnir and stuff like that. Let's hope that it's a small part of the movie. Please, Waititi, now. Deliver a fun and entertaining comic book movie and I'll be set for this one. So I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.